Hi everyone, it's now time for another Nat interview. Hello Nat, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Angus, how are you doing?
I am well, I am well. So this one
Good.
is probably going to be one of our last videos. It's kind of just generally about, the church, about SBD, about you, where we are now and where we're going. So
Sure.
I'll kick off with why on earth did you want to be our vicar?
Huh. Great question. Yeah, SBD has a fairly unique set of something can't be fairly unique, can it? Has a unique set of characteristics. It's Anglican, it's part of the Church of England. It's not a parish church. It's still operates as a church plant in lots of ways, but it has a building. So there is the kind of worries about, what are we going to do next year if we can't meet where we are meeting anymore, or if things change for us. So there's a kind of, one of the things that I love about SBD that I've just seen over the past few years is that kind of sense of rootedness in a place. It's St Barnabas Dalston. We belong somewhere, but yet we've also got kind of some flexibility to imagine church in all sorts of ways and to try things out. So I think that was one of the things that was an attraction for me. I thought that that was just reading through the profile when that was being put together and chatting with a few people. That was one of the things. I think another thing that really attracted me is the people. So I've got to know some of you reasonably well, I guess, over the past few years, and most of you I know a bit. Some of you I don't know at all, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you too. But I think just getting to know the people on a relational level over the past few years made me think, actually, this is something that I am really drawn towards. I think as well, and a result of that, or a consequence of that, is that I think I'm right in saying that there's still a kind of unity of purpose around the place. That we want to be a church that serves the kingdom. We want to be a church that proclaims the gospel. We want to be a church where people can encounter Jesus and work out what it means to live for him in the contexts that they're in.
Okay.
Now, maybe I've got a surprise coming.
No.
I think I think this might sound strange, but that's not a given in some churches, or at least in some churches you go to as a vicar. You've got to try and get that kind of unity of purpose in place before you even do anything else. I think at St Barnabas, people are kind of want to serve and want to see their friends come to know Jesus and to become Christians. So that's also something that really spoke to me.
Great. And so I suppose there's a follow-up question to that. What are our weaknesses then, if you like, with it, because you've got that benefit of a fresh pair of eyes. That's you've mentioned some of our strengths, I suppose. So what would be the weaknesses we've got then? And be kind, but be honest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's in one way, Angus, that's slightly harder for me to answer. And that's partly because I haven't seen enough of you in action to really know yet. I'm sure there are weaknesses, and I'm sure we'll work on together. I'm aware that there. Well, I mean, maybe we'll come to this in one of your questions a bit later on. I'm not sure. I think one thing that I will say is that I know that for the past couple of years, you guys have had quite a hard time. I think the kind of process of one vicar leaving, and then the vacancy or interregnum period, and then the next vicar arriving, has been fairly bruising in all sorts of ways. and that's something that we need to be honest about, and might be something that we need to address and work through together. I don't, to be clear, I don't classify that as a weakness, but it might mean that we've just got a bit of thinking and reflecting to do on where we are as a community before we begin thinking about, kind of looking outwards again. That's what I want us to do. That's what I think healthy churches are able to do. But that's something that we just need to reflect on and address a bit before we are able to kind of go forward united in the gospel again.
Okay. So what feels like the biggest challenge in this new role, and how can we help?
I think the biggest challenge initially is that this is a new role for me. So I haven't been a vicar somewhere before. I've been a curate and then an associate. So I'm stepping not just into a situation, but into a new role in a new situation. I'm also aware that this is the first transition in leadership that St Barnabas has experienced. So it's new for me, but it's also new for you guys. So on both sides, I think we're going to have to do some kind of figuring out. There's going to be some stuff that there are opportunities for both of us. There are new things for me to experience, and there are new things for you to experience. But there will also be some differences and things that we weren't expecting, and maybe some unpleasant surprises. So I think the thing to say is, let's be honest about that as much as we're able to, and try to kind of work through that together where we need to, other than just trying to sweep things under the carpet.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, did you say how can you help in that? Was that part of
Yeah,
the
yeah, exactly. That was a kind of follow-up question. How can we help, with the stuff that you're going to find difficult, I suppose is an obvious follow-up to that.
Yeah, I think this is, SJ and I actually were chatting about this a bit earlier. I think broadly speaking, one of the ways you could help us is by treating us as you would any other family that had joined the church. So talking to us as a kind of fairly, as a kind of new family who are around the place, and inviting us into your homes as you would with anyone else who might be new. I think, but part of that I think means where you want to be honest about what you think needs addressing. Be honest and upfront. Don't be afraid of kind of talking and expressing what might be on your mind.
So what would be the most reasonable and fair way of doing that then?
I think where it's, yes, that's a helpful question, because I guess I'm asking you to do two things. I think where you feel like there might be an issue that needs addressing by the vicar, come and speak to me about it. I'm happy to have honest conversations with people, and if you think there are that have happened before that need to be addressed and talked through, or whether you think there are things that I need to learn or stop doing or start doing, come and have a chat with me about that. And maybe I'll tell you that I think you're wrong, but maybe there are things that we can kind of both learn. So that's the kind of, I suppose that's the more that's the narrow point. I suppose more broadly speaking, help us as a family by treating us as a family who are part of the church. So we're a family who will need people to love us and pray for us and challenge us and question us, just as we hopefully would do with each other.
Okay. So then, would you be able to describe your leadership style or anything like that, or is what you're saying is you're still finding that out for yourself, in the sense of this is a new role for you?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I think I imagine that I will learn quite a lot about myself, particularly over the kind of next 2 or 3 years. And I think what I would say is that I hope this is a helpful thing to say, but I hope that I am better able to serve you in 2 years' time than I am at the moment. and that again, I'm better able to be your vicar in 5 years' time than I am at the moment. That I'm going to learn stuff about myself and about you as I go through this. I think what I'd say about leadership style, when the New Testament talks about leadership, it does so in the context of talking about other things too, other gifts that are essential to making the church what it ought to be. So I think leadership is one gift amongst many that needs to be worked out in the context of the church growing and the church being the thing that we want it to be. So to that end, I think I understand leadership as encouraging and helping people to work out the gifts that they have so that the whole body of the church is served and built up. Okay. So part of that involves teaching and training and equipping, but part of it is also being honest about what I can't do. And there's lots of stuff that I can't do. And you will learn that fairly quickly if you haven't learned that already. So I need to be honest about that so that I'm not trying to kind of cover up about where I think we might have deficiencies. My job is to say, there's something here that needs addressing in our life together. Who is going to address it? Who's best placed or equipped to be able to do that? And how can I help them to do that? So if you're looking for a word to describe a leadership style, maybe it's something around participative.
Okay.
You know, I want people to kind of participate in church life together as they have been gifted to do. That said, the only caveat I'll add is that there are times when leadership means being more directive and I guess more clear. There are times where it'll be my job to say, this is how we're going to deal with a particular situation. And that's it. That's the decision that's being made. Hopefully that won't be very often. And hopefully that's a kind of worst case scenario rather than a first port of call. My guess is that some people are more, that would be their kind of first option rather than the last resort. I hope for me it's more of a kind of last resort. But there are times when it will be necessary for me to say that and to do that.
Okay. Yeah. I think the important thing is to decide when we move into the church. So you have to be very direct about when it's not freezing or when it is freezing. Very difficult decision in the church.